All right, we're doing it. What's up, Josh?
What's going on?
Having a good day so far, I'm guessing.
It's Friday. It's sunny. I was on a golf course this morning. Life's good. Can't
Golf
complain.
course this morning. Are you a big golfer?
Mm-mm.
No?
Absolutely not. When I golf, it's like when I swing a golf club, it's like a full body dry heave.
Oh my
So
God.
it's not pretty at all. It's like, yeah, it's unattractive. Yeah.
I I visited my sister in Florida a few months back, and I'm not a golfer, but just seeing the golf course at 7 a.m., it was so beautiful with the sun coming up. It was such a vibe. I was like, maybe I should golf.
I think that's literally why probably half the golfers do golf is like it's an excuse to get outside, and I think the other 50% is to drink. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was. But yeah, we went out there to do some work for a golf course here locally, and it was just the same scenario. Never out there before. I'm like, yeah, I should golf. This is beautiful.
Yeah, it's a nice day too. Cool. So you were out there for work? Were you filming something?
Yeah, so we're doing a little bit of a trial with Black Bear here locally, and what we're doing is we're putting together like a promo video for them, montage style of all the kind of stuff that goes on at the golf course, and yeah, we have a meeting with them on Tuesday to kind of hopefully solidify a contract with them to handle all their content for their online stuff.
Awesome. Sounds like fun.
Yeah.
Cool. So, for people who don't know you, let us know. Like, you obviously have your two companies, BlogBOQ and LaRo Communications. Tell us a little bit about what those are to you, how they connect, and essentially what you're doing every single day.
Perfect. So what I'll say quickly is that BlogBOQ was established because at one point, my wife obviously had lived here for a few years and was kind of like, there's nothing to do here. She wasn't well connected within the community yet.
This
Um,
is like local Quinte West area, right?
that's right, in Quinte
Okay.
West. And it was kind of like, and I said, I disagree. There's something out there. This started as a hobby. And I'm like, there's tons of stuff. I grew up around here, but the problem is it's so spread out. If you're from the city, everything is condensed. And that's kind of the problem where you have everything like within reach to do something. So you have to be a little bit more willing to get off the beaten path to find something good. And so we started the blog itself as kind of just a fun way to do something. And then it would have been 2018. I was working for a company and got a text message on Christmas Eve. And we were all told that the company was going bankrupt, which was a
Oh.
shock because it shouldn't have been. And we no longer had jobs. And I had like $4,000 in my account. And can we swear on this? Are we swearing on these?
Yeah.
All right. Shit my pants. Totally shit my pants. And I'm like, what am I going to do? Because I'm like, at this point, it's Christmas. It's a horrible time of year.
Oh.
I'm stressing out. I'm stressing about money. Like, I want to provide a great Christmas. And I don't know what to do. And I think at that point, I was just so fed up of the corporate BS sort of way of thinking of like, we're a family, we're this, we take care of each other, and in the end it really boils down to that's not the case. So I started BlogBOQ as a hobby, but then I progressed and I said, you know what, there's a way to make money with this. So what we did is that we created BlogBOQ to tell stories about local stuff that's going on in the area. We want to introduce businesses. We want to connect people. It's just a community-based platform that we don't charge any money for. But what it ends up being our sales funnel for LaRo. Now, what LaRo is that's the content creation aspect. That's where we monetize and we make money. So what we end up doing with that is in theory, we'll find a company that we notice needs some work with content creation and such, and we offer them a free interview, free story on that business or company or service or organization. And we get there and we do the story, and it goes viral locally, and everybody's patting them on the back. Great story, great video, we loved it. And they're feeling really good. And we say to them, how would you like that consistently for a price? And you know as well as I do, sales is tough because
Yeah.
walking in and trying to get to the guy who decides, where the money goes in marketing is nearly impossible. But when you do a story and you offer it to them, you have their email, you have their cell phone, you have the direct line, because you're talking to them through this whole free content creation portion of what you're doing for them.
Yeah.
They learn to trust you and like you because you're consistent, you do what you say you're going to do, and then you have the opportunity to say, hey, I want to pitch you a package. And they're like, you know what? Yeah, let's sit down, let's do that. And then it turns into a sale. And what we found is that we wanted to make this affordable. There's content creation companies that focus on kind of like stringent, specific budgets, large budgets to make create a certain product service for maybe quarterly sort of idea. Whereas we're monthly. We want to think about what you're doing monthly because your business is small to medium. So the price has to make sense. And then when we go to pitch, we say, like, this is affordable. And we make it affordable for that client. And they're able to, it's one less step they have to do. And then we get to work with companies like you, where it's like, hey, you know what I mean? Obviously, we're going to create the brand. You're going to create all the information that's going to be created so you can get it out there. So you work with a company like us who's like, you can tell us what you need. So from that point, we start creating around your branding ideas, the content that you guys need, and we supply it to you. And it's kind of like, it's a great little community.
Yeah, one thing that stood out that you mentioned was the fact that you're supporting on a monthly basis. And what's interesting is, you know, for anyone listening, typically large corporations plan campaigns on a quarterly basis, and they do it kind of like seasonally, and, you know, they have these big photo shoots and whatnot planned. But I've actually even seen a shift in corporate because of social media and having to be on trend and really kind of like keeping up with the internet. So even, you know, one of my friends works for a large corporation and in the fashion industry, and every single, like almost every 2 weeks, I would say, they're doing like micro shoots to keep up with contents and trends. Like sometimes, let's say, you know, something happens on social media. Let's say, you know, that show Wednesday. It was so it was a whole vibe, whole aesthetic, all black, this and that. And so what this company did is they created this capsule collection, is what they call it, and put all of these pieces together that they already had and they're already selling. In order to fit this aesthetic of Wednesday. So now they're shooting models in this whole aesthetic and then creating a whole campaign around it. And they decided this and turned it around in like 3 days. So that just goes to show like how quickly people are moving in terms of content creation, which is pretty cool. Yeah. And I love also that you said that you're bringing clients in from one source to another. So like with BlogBOQ, how did you really build up that presence and your I guess credentials in the industry through that? Because that too, it's a separate business essentially. You know, you might not be collecting money, but you are needing to build that brand awareness. Like, how did you get that traction for people to be able to trust you and actually want to be featured on BlogBOQ?
So what ended up, and I'll give a shout out to the Parsons Brewery. Parsons Brewery was the first local company. We basically approached them. We walked in, which, if I'm going to say anything about sales, I hate the idea of walking off the street
like a cold
vacuum salesman style. I hate that.
Yeah.
I think that's dead marketing, dead sales. So what we did what we hate to do, and we introduced ourselves. And we said, look, we're starting this company. This is what we're doing. And what is the name of the owner of Parsons? Do you remember? I can't remember right now. But basically, she worked for TELUS in the marketing department. Okay. So I didn't know that. So she had left that business and was in marketing communications. And she's like, yeah, this is a great idea. We told her the idea of what we're trying to do because she kind of picked our brains apart. She's like, yeah, do a story. And we're like, wow, really? Okay, perfect. So they were the first ones that gave us sort of credentials. And in fact, it was in Prince Edward County. Also got some people. The other aspect is that I have roots here. So it's a small area. I grew up here. So there was a little bit of, Josh Labelle from high school, that sort of connection started to happen a little bit. And that was kind of really how it started. And if I could suggest to anybody that's trying to get into the content creation business, start small, start local, start in your community, your neighborhood, whatever. Because those are the people who trust you and who will support you when you're first starting off. And you treat them well, you do a good job, they will sing your praises. and you can create a business that can grow dramatically. And for us, it's crazy. It's crazy how fast and how big it got in the time that we started doing it. We were very practical in the beginning, like very practical. We're like, look, we weren't expecting to eat. We weren't expecting, like, we were like, oh, we're going to have
eat.
other jobs. Yeah, like,
you gotta eat.
You gotta eat. And like, I felt like my business at first wasn't going to sustain my family. I was honest with myself, like, I will have to have another job on top of this until this works. And I didn't. And that's unheard of. Like, for when you start off in this sort of business, it's usually like you do some on the side gigs and jobs, and you kind of build yourself. But it got traction really quickly, which was great. We're so thankful for that. And we started working that way, and people started asking us, hey, can you help us out? And that's kind of how LaRo kind of came into the picture, and we started creating these content packages.
Yeah, that's really cool. And you mentioned earlier about, wanting to provide this more affordable solution. So walk me through a little bit, like, what your pricing structure looks like. If someone were to want to work with you on a month-to-month basis, What does that look like?
Well, we've increased our prices as of recently, but the best way to explain everything is that we will offer you content creation, which is 25 professionally edited photos shot either in the studio or on location. We will offer you up to 4 to 5 minutes of video per month, which can be allocated into 1-minute clips, or for some reason, if you need to have maybe an intro video to your website, you can burn through that whole thing in one shot. And then from that, we will put everything in a Google Drive file. We'll have a 10-day turnaround time for you. You'll get your content, and that's costing you $700 per month. We work on 6-month to 12-month annual contracts. Non-refundable deposit of 50% when we do these deals. And yeah, it's made things affordable for people to have. And we basically put a clause in our contracts. It's like, if you're not happy, you can stop at any time. And that's kind of what, we want people to feel like, we don't want to pigeonhole anybody into working with us that doesn't want to work with us. We will bend over backwards. We consider ourselves people pleasers. But if we're not a right fit for you, and that's fair.
Yeah, and to anyone who's not aware of what video content and content creation, even photography, costs, like, companies spend thousands of dollars for something like this. So, like, Josh and I had spoken about a week ago, and when he first told me this, I was like, what? How? Like, how is this even possible? I'm thinking even from, like, a cost standpoint, from a profitability standpoint, like, what is your structure like in terms of, like, your team, how much you pay them? You obviously have to pay yourself. You have to feed your family, like you said. So how do you make this work? So
the best way to make everybody understand is we work on a volume basis as opposed to margin basis. This industry, as well as I know you know this, is that margin is generally the key. The problem is, and part of the reason why we do this is that we knew, based that we both worked in sort of marketing, finance backgrounds before doing this, is that a bank will not give you a mortgage, or not a very good mortgage. Purchasing vehicles, because we're all sole proprietor at this point. If you don't have some sort of consistency of money coming, residuals. So we looked at this and went, okay, we want stability. We want to know where our money's coming from for the next 12 months. And if we can get enough clientele, not only can we keep ourselves busy with a massive portfolio of stuff that we do to attract other clients. So that's great. We're creating content for them, but we're also creating content for us. The other aspect is that we have the everybody outside trying to close deals. On the outside, usually generally me and Rebecca, who are doing the sales pitching, but we're taking those deposits, and those deposits are going right back into the company, and those are paying salaries, those are upgrading equipment, and we weren't able to do that until we hit about 40 clients that are paying anywhere between $700 to $1,000, actually more $700 to about $1,200 per month, given the size of package that they want. And then from that point, it was just kind of like, we're in the black. We're not making money right now, but we're in the black. And then at that point, as we get consumer confidence, we're going to increase our prices to make it more, sustainable for us long term. But also, we're going to be able to create and capture more clients as we grow and move. Before we were local, now our 41 clients are basically from the Durham area, stretching all the way to Ottawa, and we hope to keep on growing.
Yeah, and for those of you listening that don't know, BlogBOQ, because we might not have like local people in the area, BOQ stands for Bay of Quinte, right?
Yep.
So that's kind of like, if you guys are familiar with Ontario at all, it's like Prince Edward County, Trenton, Belleville, right?
Yep.
Ish. Cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, that's awesome. Honestly, so when you're saying, you're talking about these numbers, like what are you bringing in every year in the last couple of years?
Well, I'm happy
obviously
to
it's
right
changed.
Now, Rebecca's the numbers person, but this past year, when we finished our Q4, it was something around $400,000.
It's amazing.
We ended up having before the tax man had his piece, of course.
Right.
And but yeah, so that kind of blew our minds a little bit. To be completely honest with you, we were so busy at one point, we didn't know how much money we were bringing in. We were just moving the money to pay the HST. We were putting the money here to pay the taxes. We were doing it all ourselves until we had to go to a bank for a loan. And I remember looking at the numbers because I had to obviously catch up on my accounting. And I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
I'm like, I had to check it a couple of times because I'm like,
Did you surprise yourself?
Yeah, I did. I really did surprise myself. And I know it's probably a bad business practice. I should have known what my numbers were because it could have been horrible. It could have been like, yo, you are bleeding yourself dry. But it's one of those situations that we just got so busy. It was like, every quarter we'll get this done. And we were going to the bank and we had to bringing these numbers in. And we're doing our taxes. And we're like, I was floored. I think Rebecca told us what we had to pay in tax. I'm like, holy, like what?
Yeah.
I'm like,
you're like, God damn.
Yeah, because I'm like, like that's like all our money. She's like, no, we might be like $400,000. Like, chill. I'm like, what? There's no way. Like, there's no way. So we checked it over and over, and it was kind of like a Christmas morning thing for us. But yeah.
Yeah. You almost have to like hit a certain point for it not to hurt as much. I feel the taxes every year.
That's the thing, man. You gotta chase that golden carrot for it to make sense, and
yeah, there's this like weird middle ground where you're working harder, but you're still kind of making the same amount of money because you end up getting taxed more and having to pay back more in taxes.
Yep. We got to move to Dubai.
System.
That's the thing.
It's a funny system for sure. So that's all amazing. In terms of, I guess, like your life, your career, when did things shift for you? Like, when did you finally decide to kind of take this leap? Because you've only been doing this for a few years now, right?
Yeah.
So what really pushed you, aside from, I know that the company that you were at was closing, but naturally there must have been something that you were like gravitating towards to want to go off on your own.
Oh yeah, so when we started it and it was slow and I said, we started doing well, but like there was a year period, the first year, and when I said like a little bit ago that it moved fast, I want to put that into context. Fast for me was profitable in 2.5 years, to put it in context. Yeah. So that first year, it was like grocery, like we would close a client, okay, pay the light bill, another close, okay, pay the rent. Like it was like there was no money until there was money, and it was like I want to say the universe was making sure that we were covered, and it was a very tough point in our lives, and it was very stressful. It didn't. Thank God that we have a really strong relationship, me and Rebecca. So it didn't affect us as a couple because we were both invested in it and we believed in it. But it was tough, and like there was points where I felt like a bad dad because I couldn't afford the things to put my kids in sports, or I couldn't go take away a weekend in Toronto. Like we were focusing just on eating and keeping the lights turned on and being able to afford rent and et cetera, et cetera. So there was that struggle, but then it was like year two, 2.5, that's when things started to pick up. And then it was like, okay, we're not crazy. Because there was a point at the end of year 2 that we were like, you have to check yourself. I think we all have to check ourselves here and there. And it's like, you can't believe your bullshit. You got to kind of check in and be like, okay, is this unreasonable? And we had lots of people, naysayers, saying, how about you come work for us, Josh? Sort of idea, like, you're a hard worker. We see that you're talented. Maybe come work for us and put the dream away. And it was kind of like, no, fuck you. Like, I'm going to do this. There's no other way.
Yeah, makes sense. What was your first big win? Where you were like,
Belleville General Hospital. Belleville General Hospital.
Yeah,
that was massive for us. They've been an amazing client. Being their client is good for us in so many ways, not just financially, but networking within the community, because then all of a sudden we were working shoulder to shoulder with everybody, every big wig in the area, every CEO that in industry, because of donor relations that we were working with them on and creating that content.
Wow.
Steve Cook took a gamble on us. He saw the value. He's the executive director. I have nothing but amazing things to say about Steve. Steve's made BGHF, the foundation, a massively profitable organization for philanthropy. There we go. And the hospital should be, very thankful for what Steve's done and the amount of money he's been able to bring in. But yeah, that was a big win. That was a lot of money for us. And it was like, okay, so I'll give you a scenario. So this is back year 3. We're making good money. We're living in an apartment. COVID hits and everything stops. For everybody, our business stops. We had a nice house in Quinte West, brand new build, little 9 yards, and everything slowed down. And we tried to get government money, but that turned out to be a complete gong show for everybody else. And I also, at one point, was like, I don't trust this. I feel like this is going to come back to bite us somehow, and it did. So I'm glad we never took it. So, pardon me, we moved to this tiny apartment above Fauviette. So shout out to Alex Nigel, who's a good buddy of mine, because we got rid of our place because we had to start cutting costs. And this was he's like, listen, man, it's not a very nice place. It's like, I haven't rented it in 10 years. It needs work. And I was like, okay, well, we're going to take it. 3-bedroom. My wife's pregnant. We moved in there, and it was, I don't know what's the right word. It looked like poverty. That's, the first time in my life I'm like,
oh man.
I'm like, it got me. Like, I think everybody has that one moment in their life where they're like, either when you're a student or you're leaving a marriage sometimes, and stuff like that happens where you have to, your quality of life dramatically changes. And I remember being in this apartment, I remember crying, and to Rebecca, because I'm like, she's pregnant with Remy, I have my other son, and I'm looking and I'm struggling, and because everything's shut down, and I don't know what I'm going to do, and it's not even, I can't even go apply for a job, really, right? Because no one's hiring, it's COVID, so I'm freaking out. And I just remember thinking to myself, the minute that I can turn this around, I'm going to. So I decided that at that moment that I was going to work harder than I've ever worked. And I started networking harder than I've ever worked. And the hospital that contract was giving us enough money to sustain ourselves while everything shut down, because the hospital was the only one that kept on paying. And that, shout out to Steve Cook for that. There was a client who kept on paying through a pandemic that didn't have to. And what we had to do for them was, the agreement was we had to every month supply them with so many videos per month. They'll keep on paying, but what happens is the videos stack and build, right? So what ended up happening is, to get around the red tape, I got hired by QHC as an employee, but not, if that makes sense.
What's QHC?
Queen Healthcare. That's
Okay.
the governing body that oversees the actual hospital. The foundation actually is completely separate from the hospital. It's a nonprofit with a board of directors that stages themselves within the hospital. As the community coordinator, what did they give me? Communications officer of the foundation, so I could start filming and continue to film within the hospital. Otherwise, because if I wasn't an employee, I can't be there. So it was a genius idea by Steve. Going there, I had to go through the whole process, the hiring process. I had to go through all the training. We had to be full garb all the time. You know what I mean? And so we were able to catch up on the videos and get things going again. That's what sustained us. And then the minute that there was a crack in the door during COVID, surprisingly, people were anxious to spend money on marketing and online, because what happened was everybody pivoted, and there was a whole bunch of people that moved their business online, recognized that they needed, if things went sideways again and they had to be an online business again, they wanted content. And so content was, I think people had time to sit down and go, I might need this. Even though my business traditionally has been like a B2B business or an online service or whatever, I don't need it, but I might. So now I'm going to buy this. And we basically started knocking on doors through our DMs through BlogBOQ and showing our work constantly and filming and creating and doing all these things. Even when we weren't getting paid, I was filming and doing stuff, and we had a lot of content go out, and I think people were like, wow, these guys are really busy, but it's like, no, we're doing this for free. So
yeah, wow. Crazy. So, I mean, you've been through it. You've experienced like the lows. I'm sure you've had some incredible highs as well. Yep. How would you say starting your own business has kind of like affected your mindset and your career and just like your overall outlook on life?
I will never, ever, ever work for someone ever again. I will never trust my future in the hands of someone else. And I recognize that the people that work for me put their lives in my hands, and I take that really, really seriously. Because my experience has been poor. Like when it comes to working for other corporations and businesses, it's like they never fulfilled their end of the bargain, and I would sell my soul for them. I was so drinking the Kool-Aid when I was in the corporate world that if they would have told me, you're working X amount of hours per week, you'll not see your family, we're sending you to San Antonio, you're going to live there for 3 months, you're not going to see your family. Like, if they told me to jump, I was going to jump. If they told me to do anything, I was going to do anything. I didn't question anything they said. And then they didn't fulfill not only the monetization aspect of what they're asking for if I did it. It was such a letdown constantly. So I won't trust anybody ever again to work for them. And I really respect people who work for me and understand that they expect me to pay them what they're worth. They expect me to be fair. I don't bring my problems to them. Like, we all know there's people who come to work and it's like clearly they're going through something outside of work, but they bring that attitude and the mentality into the office and just take it out on everybody. And it's just such a miserable experience. I won't do that. I care about the people that work for me. I really do. And I hire people that I like, not just because they're good. There's plenty of great content creators. There's plenty of great photographers, videographers, but I have to respect you and like you outside of that. That's super important to me,
Yeah, I definitely relate to that. I mean, even having worked corporate myself previously and kind of knowing what that's like, I think there's a place for everyone. Like some people really love the corporate culture and like can't work for themselves or like choose not to, and that's totally cool. For me though, I definitely relate to you in the sense that I saw a lot of things like politically that were not great in terms of overworking, the pressure, the disrespect, the lack of appreciation,
100%.
Things like that. So I definitely bring through the same kind of, I guess, grace in the way that I run my business and build my team. At the end of the day, especially since I'm the one hiring, it's like, why would I hire someone that doesn't share similar values as me, right? And I think that that's so empowering to be able to choose who is in your circle and to be able to build this kind of empire and this conscious business with people who lead with integrity and really share the same mindset as you. And it's just been so rewarding to be able to see my team grow and this company really, define itself as a conscious business. Like that's a big, theme of this podcast is conscious leadership and conscious business and like what that means to people. And a lot of that is caring for people as opposed to just chasing the money, right? It's about growth in general and not necessarily just the dollar amount. And I'm a really, really strong believer that, if you believe that you can get somewhere, you can.
Yep.
Like the belief is literally all that you need to succeed.
Yep.
It's just a matter of doing the things every day to get there. And the people around you have a big part in that. So definitely relate there. All right, how you feeling?
I'm feeling great. You feeling great?
Feeling good so far?
Yeah, I feel good.
Yeah, I'm feeling good. Awesome. So in terms of like financial freedom, let's talk a little bit about like the money in the business. So you experienced a low where you were living essentially paycheck to paycheck to support your family, to feed your family. And now you've built a company that's generating around $400,000 a year, which is absolutely incredible. So what does that feel like for you in terms of financial freedom and, having the ability to maybe do things that you wouldn't have been able to do prior?
Initially, I had massive amount of anxiety, to be honest with you. I had I'll be straightforward with you. The most amount of money that I ever made prior to owning a business was like $80,000. When you start seeing,
which is still
pardon me?
Pretty great.
Yeah, still pretty
which
great.
Is still pretty great.
And I had subscribed to the idea that would probably be my life in a sense. Mm-hmm. And I didn't have any expectations with the business. I had goals. I think there's a difference. I explain this to people. Expectations and goals are two different things. Don't have any expectations, but always have goals. Expectations let you down. Goals keep you focused.
Yeah.
Right?
I love that.
So and that's kind of like how I like to explain things to people. It's kind of like, so I didn't want to have that expectation. The money started coming in. And then I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do now. Because I didn't think that far ahead. And it just happened. Mm-hmm. So I started thinking to myself, okay, so what do we do? What's the next step? Is it equipment? Are we reinvesting it in employees? And the first thing that was employees. And we started off with part-time employees. I mean, people we had working for us, even up till very recently, were kind of like 30 to 35 hours per week. And still making great money, but we wanted them to be able to have the ability to do other things as well, because I was always concerned that the tap was going to get turned off, right? So, and that's always been my fear, is like financial freedom is terrifying in the sense that I go after, that's what I want. Like my ultimate goal is to have enough money, make enough money that the business is valued, in the millions, that I can, somebody will buy me out. And it's kind of like, well, what would you do if they bought you, like let's say your business was valued at $10 million. And my answer is that I would take the money and I would go park myself, and I would just, me and my family would separate themselves, and I would put it away, and I would live off the residuals for the rest of my life. And that's it. I don't have that. I don't have the ability, not the ability. I don't care enough about being a billionaire to want to be a billionaire. There is a number. You have your number. I got my number, and I know if I hit that number, I'm going to surround myself with my kids and completely invest into them instead of like balancing
time, love, family.
Yep, that's it. I'm a big sucky teddy bear. I love my kids. I want them to know that their dad loves them every single day, and I want them to know that I'm here for them.
Sweet.
And I want to be there to support. I guess I want to support their dreams now, right? I want to be in the position where I can say, "What do you want to do? What are your dreams? How can I help?" Like I want to be able to do that for my kids, and spend time with my wife. My wife is my best friend. Like not only is she the finest thing I've ever seen in my whole life, And I'm punching way above my
I
weight.
love that. Is she there? Is she
No,
there?
she's not actually. And yeah, she's just
That's so
yeah,
beautiful.
she's just a smoke show that I'm like, I can't believe I'm with this girl every single day. So, but also she's my best friend, and she's hilarious, and she's funny, and
Yeah.
we really work on our relationship. We check in every day. We're constantly our focus is on healthy relationships, communication. We don't lie to each other. Like, we have a problem, we sort it out, and we do it constructively, and we don't finger point. So I would love to spend my time with her, just, you know, in a tropical area, you know, in a shack with her walking around in a bikini all day eating fruit. That would be my perfect dream, right? So
She's your partner,
Yeah.
right? That's what I understood.
Yeah, that's right. She's my
your
partner,
in
yeah.
business and in life. Yeah. How do you navigate that?
Well, at first it was very tough, because again, we started BlogBOQ as kind of like it was like a hobby for her, and then we started getting into business. And in the beginning, like I told you, I'm going to tell you how it is. I'm going to be completely raw and honest. We fought a lot. I had these expectations of Rebecca that I was hoping that she would meet, and they weren't practical because she didn't have the background. I'm like, why can't you do this, or why is it like this? And basically one day she finally just said, like, because I've never done this shit. And I'm like, right, shit. Like, yeah, I'm thinking to myself, what was I thinking? Like, I'm like, hands on the hips, like, what the heck? You know, this isn't getting done, and this isn't happening. She's like, what are you talking? You're speaking a foreign language to me. And so I'm like, okay, so we had to step back, and it changed our dynamic of the relationship. So instead of like getting frustrated, angry, and upset, I needed to say, when I asked her to do something, I needed to know, like, hey, do you know how to do it? Can I walk you through it? You know what I mean? So I started teaching her, and she started teaching me, and the dynamic of the relationship worked really, really well, and it still does. When she got pregnant, like, this is how much of a rock star she is. She got pregnant. We had Remy. My wife, there's a photo somewhere circulating, I can find it, where she's literally on her laptop in the hospital. Yep.
No.
6 hours after delivering my daughter, typing up quotes.
Oh my gosh.
Putting stuff out.
She's a champion. God bless her.
My mother-in-law wanted to choke me, but you know what I mean? Like, and I just remember thinking, like, oh my God, that's one of the hottest photos I've ever seen.
But that was her choice, though.
100%.
Like,
listen, if anything, everything is her choice. I don't have a say too much. I just do as I'm told. But And then, what ended up happening was she burnt herself out. Postpartum hit, and I basically had to step back, and I took away everything off her plate, because it was one of those moments where it was like another moment of like, why did I let her do this? Like, I should know better. I consider myself a pretty emotionally intelligent person, and from that point, she did end up taking off the year and just being a mom.
Good, nice,
and doing things. But everything came onto my lap, and it was like one of those moments. Like I said, that's when we were figuring out how much money we made, because I was focused on closing and editing and doing everything myself. And the other part was just throwing the money in the bank and doing the bare minimum HST payments, and that's it, right? So, and then so she came back to work. My daughter's in daycare, and we're going through this massive revamp, and got some great ideas, and we got all this cool stuff happening.
So fun. Well, we're gonna wrap it up. I have a couple more questions for you. We're going to end with a segment called Mindful Minute. This is something that I'm asking all of my guests. So essentially, if you had either one thing that someone told you that would have changed the trajectory of your life or supported your growth, or if you have a piece of advice that you want to give to others that would help support them in their journey, what would it be? Manifest.
It's going to sound corny. I've manifested everything that I've done. Everything.
How would you do?
Well, number one, I basically started creating vision boards for myself digitally.
Yeah.
And talk about the things that I wanted, and then I would talk to myself and say, I'm going to get here. And it started off with, I'm going to get out of this apartment that's, not suitable to raise children in. I did that, got into a nice house. I'm going to close this big client. I'm going to be able to afford or purchase this piece of equipment that will help my business. And I would talk it into reality. And I would also meditate and put that out to the universe. I know it sounds crazy. Listen, everything I'm about to say.
No, it doesn't. I do the same. I literally do
so
all the same things. Copy paste.
So it's true. And the secret spice to that whole equation is it's work hard with intention as well as put it out to the universe. We don't know how we're going to get to that goal. You don't know. I don't know. We just know we're going to get there. And we look at every situation, every decision that we make, we carefully calculate and go, this is the best path to getting to that goal that I talked about. So every time you have an opportunity, so what I'll say to people is this: every time you get a small opportunity, it may not be the big opportunity that changes your life. It may not be the huge thing that brings that big check in, but that little job leads to another connection that leads to the other connection, and its momentum starts to build. And that's what you need to do, is focus on momentum and putting it out to the universe what you want, and being confident, and being kind, and being understanding. But I say this, and this is the last thing I'll say is, be kind, do no harm, but take no shit. And that's it.
That's beautiful. It's amazing. I was actually talking with Natasha Krettel, who was on episode 3, and she was saying how everything comes from within. Like, we have all of the power within ourselves to achieve whatever we want. And it has a lot to do with belief in yourself, which I feel really relates to what you were just saying. Anyways, that was amazing. Perfect way to end the Mindfulpreneur podcast. So on brand. Josh, tell everybody where they can find you.
You can find me at BlogBOQ on Instagram and on Facebook, LaRo Communications as well as on Instagram. And you can find me around, probably carrying a camera here in the Bay of Quinte. And
Amazing. Thank you so much. That's it, everyone. Bye.
Bye.